Today we will be creating a Laravel project to see the files and folder structure of Laravel and also to see their working. In order to create the Laravel project, we have already downloaded and installed Composer, XAMPP, MySQL Workbench, VS Code and Node.js. To see the working of our project, we need to run a local server in our system. Now, if we open up the XAMPP control panel, we can see the Apache server and the MySQL server already listed here. Generally, developers will be running the Apache server to get access to the local host and also the MySQL server to get access to the database. But we will be using the inbuilt server of Laravel itself, that is the Artisan server, to get access to the local host, and we will not be running any MySQL server as we have installed the MySQL Workbench in our system. We have installed the XAMPP just to get access to the PHP files and libraries. We have also installed Node.js to get access to the Node package manager to install the required packages to our project, including Bootstrap and also other packages required by our project's need. In this project, we will be creating a model, view, controller and route in order to understand the working of Laravel MVC framework. So let's begin. Now open up the VS Code. In VS Code, I will be accessing the terminal using the Control tilde key. The tilde key is the key between the escape and tab key, as you can see on the screen. So using this terminal, I will be creating our first project. So the project will be created using the Composer create project command. So let's now create our first project. So type in Composer create -project, then space Laravel /Laravel space and then give the project name. So I'll be going with the name first project, FIRSTPROJECT. Now when I press enter, Composer will automatically download the basic required files that is required for development. So now let's wait for the Composer to download and install all the files required. So Composer has now created our first project. So I'll be opening up that project in VS Code. So in order to do that, I'll be closing this instance of the VS Code, and I'll be minimizing this. You can minimize this or close it because we are not going to use the XAMPP control panel. Now go to the users folder. Now in this users folder, you can see the project called first project. The folder called first project. Open up the folder. Then now we need to open up this folder inside VS Code. In order to do that, press the shift key, then right click, then select the option open with code. This will open up the folder in our VS Code. So here the folder is now open. Now press the Control tilde key again to access the terminal. Now let's go through the files and folder structure. Laravel, being an MVC framework, follows a similar folder structure to all other MVC framework. That means it has models, views, controllers and route. Now let's see where these files are. If you expand the app folder, you can see a folder named models. Here we will be defining our models. Now what are models? A model is used to perform modification to data in a database like the CRUD operations, that is create, read, update, delete. And also a model is used to write a relationship of the current model to other models, and also to write queries related to models which can be accessed to or which can be used to perform the CRUD operation. So by that, what I mean is, say if you are creating a blog web application, so in that blog web application you will be having say two databases, that is one database for users and one table for posts. So you have to link the users table directly to you can link the users table or directly to the post table using the relationship, or you can also write custom queries that can be used to filtering the posts depending upon the user needs. So all these things can be returned here so that we don't have to create an elaborate query each time when we are accessing. So the user and post relation can be mentioned here so that we can directly access the post using the user without any extra queries written. Now what about controllers? So if you expand the HTTP folder in the app folder, you can see another folder named controllers. Here we'll be writing our controller. Now what is a controller? A controller is where we write our logic which is used to achieve a task, including accessing a model and performing the CRUD operation, that is the create, read, update, delete operation, or just to access the view. Now if you scroll down to the resources folder and then you can see the views folder. Here we will be creating our view. Now what is a view? View is the output that we provide to the end user. That means whatever a user is seeing through the browser, that is a view. Basically it's just an HTML page that we create for the users to interact with our project. So now we have covered where the model, view and controller is. There is one more file which we have to cover, that is the route file. So just below the the views folder, you can see another folder named routes. In that, if you open up the web.php file, you can see here a route is already defined. So what is a route? A route is used to access the view or to access the controller to perform a CRUD operation, that is a create, read, update, delete operation, or any other action required by the user. That means anything, any logical action, any calculation that is required by the user to perform. And also one thing to note is that a route has many methods depending upon the user interaction. That means in here, if you can see that a route is already defined. Here the method is used to get the view, so we are using the get method. In the same way, if we want to insert any data into the database, we will be using the post method. Or if we want to update the data inside the database, we'll be using the patch methods. Patch method. Or if you want to delete the data from the database, we'll be using the delete method. So like that, a route has different methods for any such occasions. So that's the basic. This is the basic layout of the Laravel framework. So let's run up the project and then access the project using the browser and see how everything is going. So I'll be returning this to the initial state now. I'll keep this file open. Now in order to access or run our project, we need a local server. As mentioned before, I am not going to use the control panel, XAMPP control panel to get the access to the local host. Instead, I will be using the Artisan server. That means I'll be using the PHP Artisan serve command to run a local server. So type in PHP Artisan serve, and when I press enter, this will run up the server, localhost server. So as you can see on the screen, the server is running on this given URL. So if I copy this URL and open up the browser and paste it here, on the left hand side in the terminal you can see some updates being made when I press enter. So I have pressed enter and an update is made, and if I reload it, again update is made. So the server is currently active. So just let's stop the server using the Ctrl+C key. So I'll be pressing the control and C. Now the server is stopped. Let's go back to the browser, reload the browser, and as you can see, it's showing an error saying that page can't be reached because the server is no longer running. So let's restart the server. In order to restart the service, you can either type the entire command again or just press the up arrow key, which will get the previously entered command, and then press enter. This will run up the server again and then reload the page. Again the server is running. Now what's happening here is, you can see on the URL, the URL is showing us just the localhost address with the port given. Now this is the same as the endpoint given as slash. So the endpoint is like in any website, if you when you have access to any website, you can see that with the slash there will be something else also written. So this is called as the endpoint. So in our case, the slash endpoint is the same as the default localhost address. So if I press this, it will load the same page. Let me give you an example. Say if I give something that is not there, so the test file endpoint is not there anymore, not there. So if I access the slash test file endpoint, what is happening here is, since the endpoint doesn't exist, saying that it's not found because this endpoint or this route doesn't exist. So this is the route which we are seeing on the web.php, but that doesn't exist, but the slash route exists. As you can see on the web.php, the slash route is returning a view called welcome. So it is returning from the view folders, that is this folder inside the resources folder, and it is returning the welcome.blade.php. So you don't have to type the extension .blade.php as it is assumed by default. So say I will just change the URL to test file, and if I copy this and I modify the route here and then save, then go back to the browser and then reload it. Now it is getting access because the slash test file is now returning the welcome.blade.php. What happens if I change this and go back and reload it, saying view test file not found? Because now the slash test file is in the browser. The slash test file is trying to access the view called testfile.blade.php, but in the views folder there is no such file. There is only one file called welcome.blade.php. So if I right click it and rename it, now if I go back and reload, again the page is being loaded. So the test file, the slash test file endpoint is now returning a view called testfile.blade.php, which is here. Now let's return to the initial state. Here also I'll be returning to the initial state, that is the welcome.blade.php. So now we have seen the basic functioning of a route, how it is accessing the route, how it is accessing the view. So one key point here to notice is that we will not be writing any actions in the route file. That is, as you can see, there is an action right now going on in the route, but usually we will not be writing any actions here. All the routes here declared here will always be redirecting to a controller, which then perform the action, and then that controller will be the one returning a response depending upon the interaction given. So let's dive deep into it. So in order to do that, we will be creating our first model, view and controller, and we will be writing a custom route to access the model view controller, and also we'll be inserting data into database as well as fetch the data from the database. So let's see how can we create a model view and controller. So first we will see the creation of a model. So on the left hand side you can see in models folder there is already a model defined, that is the user.php model is defined. So we'll be creating our own model now. Before creating a model, first let's go through, there are many commands to create a model, not many, there are basically two commands to create a model, a controller, a view. And we'll be going through the command which can be used to create a model individually and a controller individually and then a view individually. Also there is another section called migration, which is in the database folder, which we haven't gone through. So before creating a model, let's go through the migrations. So model, we have defined earlier what a model is. So what is a migration now? A migration is the blueprint of the database table which we are going to create. So a model is linked to the migration. If you are writing a function in the controller to say insert a data or create a data or update a data or delete a data, the controller will be accessing the migration using the model. So migration is the place where we define each column or each schema of a table. So basically this is the layout that we are going to create in a table. So I will show this in actual function. So while creating a model, we also have to create a migration. If you have noticed that there's a model already existing, as said before, there's a model called user.php, and also there is a model called migration called users table. So migration is the plural version of a model, not a plural version, a plural of a model. So if you are creating a model named post, then the migration will be post table. Or say if you are creating a model named product, then the migration will be products table. So it will be the plural version. The name will be the plural version, and in that migration we will be giving the required table for that model. So we also have to create a migration in order for the models to work. So on the migration is the one that is linking our table, that is creating our table. So we'll be creating a model, controller, view and migration. So let's go through the individual command to do that, and then we will see a single command that will create a model, controller and migration in a single go. The view is a separate section, so we have to make use of the individual command. So let's see first the individual command of a model. In order to make model, we will be using the command php artisan make model. Then we will be giving the model name. This will create a model for us. And in order to make the controller, we will be creating the command, writing the command php artisan make controller, then the controller name appended with the text controller. So this will create a test controller in the controllers folder. And in order to create a migration, you will be writing the command php artisan make migration space, then the plural version of the migration or the model which we are linking the migration to. So it is product, then products. If the model is product which we created, then the migration will be products. Also how to make a view. The view command will be php artisan make view, then the view name. This will create the view. So let's see how we can create the model, migration and controller in a single go. So before that, the individual command which we use is useful sometimes. Say there are certain cases in which we have to write we have to create just a controller without creating a model or migration. There will be cases like that when you're creating an actual project. So in such conditions, we'll be using the PHP Artisan make controller and then the controller name command to create a separate controller which will not be performing any actions, which will not be linking any action to the database. It will be just performing some basic functions. So let's see how to make the controller model and migration in a single code. In order to do that, write the command php artisan make model, then the model name, then space -mc. So the M and C, the M stands for migration and the C stands for controller. So this command will create a model, migration and controller for us. On the left hand side, you can see that in the controllers folder there is only one controller.php. On the models folder there is only one model called user.php, and the migrations folder has the default migration created by the composer for migrations created by the composer. Now watch what happens when I press enter here. So now the controllers folder have another file called test controller, and the models folder has another file called test.php, and the migration has test table. So the test, as you can see, it's a plural version of the model which you have just created. So as of now, this has no columns in it, which we'll be creating models now. Before that, let's create a view. So in order to create a view, we'll be writing the command php artisan make view, then the view name. But let's see, there is something else we can do here, that is in other than directly creating a view, we can create a view inside a folder. You see how that goes. So if we just write the test, the smaller case test, that will create a view inside the views folder. Now since I have given the uppercase T with the test and then a slash, then the smaller case, this will create a folder called test, and then it will create a view called test.blade.php. So where is this useful? This is useful when we can here say we can pack all the admin file in one folder, or the user file in one folder, or the editor file in one folder. In such cases, this will be useful. So let's go with the test now. So when I press enter, on the left hand side you see another folder is created called test, and in that a view is created called test.blade.php. I'll be deleting this. Okay, let's see, I'll be uncommenting this. So now again, if we go back to the browser, so you can see the test file doesn't exist as I have deleted it. If I put this slash, again the page is loaded, the welcome.blade.php page is loaded as I have not changed anything. Now let's access the test.blade.php. Now how will we do that? So let's create a route to access the test.blade.php. Again, since we are accessing a view, we will be using the get route, but we will not be writing a function like this inside the route folder. This is not a proper method to go. For that, I'll be going to the Laravel documentation. We're opening up the server in another tab. So in the Laravel documentation, I will go with the route. Okay, here it is routing. So in here a route is already declared. So I will be copying this and I will paste this. This will save much time. I'll be using this here. Before that, what happens if I didn't use that here? and then okay, now the route is there. So this route at the present moment is not doing anything because the /user route is accessing the user controller, but there is no user controller. Our controller is the test controller. So I'll be copying the name here and pasting it here, and here our route is the test file. So now the test file will be accessing the test controller index function. But let's see, in the test controller, if we go, there is nothing here because there is no index functions. First, let's see what happens. I'll go to the project and then /test file, enter. Will say target class doesn't exist because the index function is not there. So let's create an index function in the controller. So I'll be writing public function index, and then let's keep it like that, then reload it. Now again it is showing the target class doesn't exist. Why is that? Because if you remember, I have commented this code because I have not imported the controller here. So since this is importing the user controller and our controller is the test controller, I'll be importing test controller. Now again, if I reload it, now there is no error. It is successfully working. So now what's happening here is the /test file is accessing the test controller index function. What happens if there is no index function? Let's see that one more time. Again, index does not exist. So the index is there, it will load, but it is showing a blank page. Why? Because the index function, if we go to the route, we can see that this here is returning a view, but the test controller is not returning or not doing anything. So let's return the view which we want, that is the test.blade.php. So return view, and then length this with a semicolon, and then in single quotes I'll be writing first the folder name test. Make sure to match the case because Laravel is case sensitive, and sometimes the local server will not provide an error, but the actual server, that's the live servers, will provide an error with the case is not matching. So make sure to match the case. So test folder and test file. If I save this, what will happen? Again, okay, there is a text here. Now where is this text coming from? We open up the test.blade.php. There is a test here. Let's say change this to hello there, and then save it, then open up the browser, reload it, it shows hello there. Now what's happening here is the test file is accessing the test controller index function, and the index function is now returning the test.blade.php view which has this text. Now we have linked the route controller and view. What about the model section? So in order to link to the model section, we have to perform some action. So let's see what can be done here. Okay, so we will create a user, a basic user. There is no security at the moment, so we will not be hashing any password or anything like that. So we will create a form which can take the say a username and a password, and it will then insert to the database using the model. So what we're going to do next is we'll be creating a form in the test.blade.php which will insert data using a route, another route. Then that route will be passing to the same controller but a different function, and then we will be using in that function, we'll be using the test model to insert data in the test migration. So let's do that. So in order to do that, I need a form. So let's create a form here. I will say I will go to the bootstrap. So bootstrap. Let's go to the bootstrap. So I'm just going to get some HTML content from the bootstrap. Nothing else is here. In future videos, I will show how to install bootstrap. But let's go with the basics now. Form overview. Let's see. Okay, this I will copy, and then I will paste this, and I will delete it and paste it. Now I want. Okay, I don't want this. I want the password to be password and the email to be email. Okay, I want the. I don't want email at the present moment. I need text. Sorry, not text. Text. Okay. And I know the doesn't need these things first. Here. Okay. Now the /test file will access the test controller index function, which will return this view. And let's see that. If I reload it, see, email address, an input box, password, an input box, and a submit button. What will happen if I press the submit button? Nothing is happening because I have not defined anything, any action for this submit button. And one thing to make sure is that this form is used. So we will be using the forms to submit data to the database. That means we will be using forms or anchor tags to access the route. Okay, so all those things we will understand in detail. So we'll be using the form to create, update or delete a data, and also we can use the anchor tag to navigate to different views. So form is the main thing that we'll be using to create, update data. We can use the anchor tag also to delete the data, but form should be used whenever we are passing an input like this. We cannot pass the data without a form submission. So a form is necessary. The form tag is really important. So inside the form tag only we can define a input methods. So in that, this button will be triggering the form submission event. So whenever I'm clicking this button will be creating a submission event to the form using the input which we have given, these inputs which we have given. And to do that, make sure that the button type has to be submit. Instead, sometimes the button type will be button, so we don't need that. We need the button type to be submit. Then only the trigger event, the form submission trigger event will trigger. So at the present moment, if you click the button, nothing is happening. Now why is that? Because I have not created a form action or a form post method. I have already mentioned that the route uses different methods to get access to the controller or perform any actions using the controller. But the thing is, form also uses a method and action. Method like get, post or patch, delete, and also a action. So an action is the route which we are going to use. So for that I have to create an action here. So I'll be creating an action in the form tag using the action key. So I'll be saying test file /create, and then I'll be using the method. So the method, that is, since I am going to create it, I'll be using the post method. So now let's create a route with the same name. So again I'll press enter, go back to the form, I will copy the action and I will paste it here. And instead of the method get, I'll be using the method post. So now whenever I'm clicking the submit button, this form, this form will take all the input and submit it to the test file create route using the post method. Now what is this going to do? At the present moment, this is taking to the index function, and what the index function do will return the same view again. So we don't want that. So we need to create another function that performs the create action. So I'll be creating a function called save, and then in test controller just copy this and then paste and then click save. Now I don't want this to return any view. I want this to insert data into the database. So whenever I'm clicking submit, instead of submit I will say create. So whenever I'm clicking the create button, the form will take all the input that is given here to this route using the post method, and it will give the those inputs to the save function using the request method. So request is already mentioned here. So the request method is the one which handles all the requests, that all the inputs given through the form. So request is already defined by default here, so we don't have to separately give it. So let's see how this works. So now I will be just inspecting this. As you can see, the form is going to create a test file create post, and the button is create. So we're just closing this, but let's see what happens. Another error is now shown, 419 page expired. But the thing is, we have done everything correctly. We have created an action, created a method, all the inputs being passed, but still it's showing a 419 page expired error. Why is that? This is because the Laravel has an inbuilt security feature in order to verify that this URL or this route has been accessed by our own server, that no external entity is trying to access this route. So in order to make sure that this route is accessed by the server itself, or through the server itself, directly by the server, this form submit event itself, Laravel has a feature called a CSRF token verification. So whenever a form submission event is taking place, the Laravel automatically creates a token in the back end, and it will provide a hashed version of that token here with the form. So whenever I'm submitting or creating or pressing the submit button, that token also needs to be passed through our route. But how can we do that? Let me inspect that one more time. So there is two tips here in which there are two inputs. Okay, so in order to pass the token, we have to write a token code. That is, it's just apt CSR. That's it. So you can see there is only two inputs here and the form tag. But now, as I have written the CSRF key here, if I reload the page, you can see there is another hidden input coming. It is a hashed version of the CSRF token. As you can see, it is passed through the name token. So if I submit this now there is no error provided, but the screen is blank because there is no action taking place. So this CSRF token is now passed, but since there is nothing going on here, it is showing as a blank event. Now before submitting the data, let me show you what is the difference between a get route and post route. Now in the method, let's say I have defined get here, and here also I have defined get. What happens? when I reload and submit, take a look at the URL here. So since I'm using the URL, you can see that the data which I have been passed through the URL is now visible here. Now why only token is visible, not the email address or the password? That is not being passed. Why is that? Because the data is being passed through the form using the name key. Since if I inspect here, you can see the input, the hidden input has a name called underscore token. That is being passed through the URL, but the rest of the input, that is the user email address and the password, doesn't have a name key here. That's why it's not being passed. So I will just write a name. Name here will be username. The name here will be password. And here will be password. And let me reload the page now. Okay, now the name is there, username, and the next one is name is password. So now what happens? Now see, the username is blank and the password is blank. What happens if I fill it? TS test and TS test 1 2 3. And if I create, so this is the problem with the get route. It is not a secure way of passing data. That's why we are using the post route. So in the get route, you can see the data is passed through the URL. So anyone can view the data which we are being submitted through the form. That's why we are not going to use the get URL, but instead we will be using the post URL. So here the change that here also changed to post. Now what happens if I reload it and say try test test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. And now if I type create, see the URL, nothing is being passed, but the data is directly passed to the save function in the test controller. So the data is being passed, but nothing is being done. Why? Because we haven't said to do anything. So now let's receive the data first. So how will we receive the data? As I mentioned before, the request function is the one receiving all the data, but we have to see what the request function is receiving. In order to do that, I will declare a variable here saying request, which in this variable I will be assigning the data that is being passed. So request request function. Now, how to know whether the data is being passed here or not? To do that, we will use the die and dump method in Laravel. So I will type dd and then I will paste the variable here. So what the dd or die and dump does is, now here the request is being made. So when the URL is accessed, then go to the save function, and save function that the request will be saved to the okay, 1 second. The request will be saved to the request variable, and that variable is now accessed here. So it is basically like the echo in PHP, but it's more advanced. So this will die and like a bar dump in PHP. So this will die. So this will stop the execution of this function here. Stop the execution. So nothing will, whatever function is here below or line will not be executed. This execution will stop here. That's it. It will not go any further, and we will be seeing this. So by doing this, we will be able to know what the request variable consists of. So we will be able to verify. So if I create submit, see, these are the things that the request is being passed to. So in this say attributes, Okay, no attributes is being passed here. See why that is. So there has to be some. Okay, yeah, it is in request and parameter. So as you can see, the request parameter consists of token which we passed and the username which we passed and the password which we passed. So how can we access this? So the request parameter is now as in the form of an array. So in order to access that, we will be using the dot operator, and we'll be using the name which we have given here. So I'll be using a username. So request consists of so request dot username. What will this do? Let's reload the test. Okay, let's see what the password is. Reload, and password is this. So as you can see, this shows us what the request is giving. So now we have successfully passed our data to the controller, as we have just now verified. But now we need to insert this data into the database. But for that, we have not created the migration. So let's create the migration here. So I'll be just copying this from the users table, save time, and I'll just paste this twice. I'll be giving everything as a string. So USR name, username, and the password I'll be giving as WD. So this will create a column named username and password in the database. So I have given a schema for the test table, but let's see whether this works or not. But before that, how to insert data into this database? In order to do that, as I have mentioned before, we need to access the model. So how will we access the model? So what is the model's name? It is test. So test full colon. Then we will be using the Eloquent method. We will not be using any raw query, that is the raw SQL query to insert data. We will be using the Eloquent method to insert the data, which is I will be giving the test model name, that is test, and then the scope operator, that is this double full colon, and then write create. Then in this I will declare an array. And what does this array has? The array will be taking this column name from the database and in single quotes. Again, the next one, that is password, then that I will pass as single quotes. Then so what does this? The save function will save the request to the $request variable. Then the test model will create or insert data into the database matching to this particular column. So what I want here is I want to insert the user request pointer, and in the test.base.php I will copy the username, then paste it here. Again I will copy this, paste it here, and password I will give the name password. So this, the right hand side is from the form and the left hand side is from the column database, and I'll be giving a comma to separate this, as this is an array. And there is one more error showing here because I have not given the full column. So now this will create a data or insert a data into database, or will it? I have created the database, migration. Form submission is working, data is being passed here, and I have declared a model, and I have given the column name as well as the data that is being inserted into this using the Eloquent method instead of using the raw query. So let's see whether this will work or not. I'm sure it will not work, but let's see. Instead of reloading, I will go back. I will reload the page, say test, then tab, test 1, 2, 3. and I will press create. Now what will happen? It is showing an error code, error app controller test not found, because I have given the name test here, but I have not mentioned to this function that this test is not a controller but a model. So in order to do that, I will just copy this. I will say use communicator, no problem, and slash, and then the models slash test. So what will this do is this will import the test model here. Now let's rerun it again. Let's see what the error is now. See, add username to fillable property. Now what happened is that we have created the model here, but we have not linked that model to the migration. In order to do that, we have to write a code called protected or YLLABLE, and this will be an array. And in this array, we will be giving the column name that is available in the database. This is for a security measure. But there is a problem here. See that? So there will be another error now, but let's see. Okay, that error is gone. Syntax error and as okay. So okay, I have not given the semicolon here. Let's see. But still error will be there. But our fillable error is now no longer there. Here the problem is, since I have written protected fillable, I have to give the column name of this model's migration. So test model has the test migration, and I have to give the column name which I have declared here. But the problem arises when, say, there will be some cases in which a column has or a model has about some 20 or 30 columns, and which might change while in the development process. So maybe 10 or 20 times it might change. So each time it is hard for us to come and change the more fillable properties here. So instead of doing this, what we can do is we can write this as protected guarded and then an empty array. This is also a security measure, but we don't have to individually give the name. So in development process, we will use the protected guarded method or guarded property. Then before releasing that, after testing and everything is completed, then we will enable the protected fillable property to make sure everything is secure. Protected fillable is more secure than the protected guarded. So this is more secure. Fillable is more secure, but for development purpose we will be giving the guarded. Now let's see whether we'll be seeing the fillable error again or not. No, fillable error is now passed. But what happens if I comment this too? Again the fillable error will come, but what happens if I uncomment this? The error is gone. So now using the model to insert the data, but there is a problem, that is showing access denied for the root localhost using password. Why is this? This is because even though we have created model and migration, we have not created a database. Also, we have not linked a database to the project. So let's link a database, create a database and link that database to our project. In order to link a database to our project, let's go to the .env or the environment file of our project, which is listed in the file section below. The .env file, click it, and there is a database section here. It is saying the MySQL and the DB host is saying port also, and the database also it is saying. But the thing is, this is not our database. This was created by the composer by default. So our database, say we will be going to create as first project. So this will be our database, and the username will be this word, and the password I have given is test123. I think test at 123. I'll confirm that later. But before that, where did I get all the details from? So initially I have told that in the exam control panel, the developers will be running the MySQL server in order to get access to the database. But the thing is, we have installed XAMPP in our MySQL Workbench in our system. So during the installation process of MySQL Workbench itself, it has asked me that this said to me, given me the option that this is the database which host will be using, and this is the port number will be using, and the database it didn't give, because we have to create the database by our own, and it has and I have created a username called Wizword during the installation process of MySQL Workbench, and I have given the password of that user as test at 123. I don't remember if it's a test at 123 or test 123. That I will just verify now. So this is the database connection. So I have created the database connection. So these two are created during the MySQL Workbench installation. So now let's open up the MySQL Workbench, and as you can see, there is nothing called no schema is here. The thing is, okay, I will save this, but just have a look at the terminal here. When I save the environment file, the server, when the environment file is modified, the server is automatically restarted. So if it doesn't restart, you have to manually restart it using the Ctrl+C and then run the server again, because the environment file has changed. So the server has to be restarted. So now, since I have this is credentials for my MySQL Workbench, and I have created the migrations here and the model here, and also I have linked the database. But the thing is, there is no database. There is no schema by that name. Schema by the name of first project. So I have to create the schema by the name of first project. So in how to create a database in MySQL Workbench. In order to do that, press the Windows key and then search for Unicode. As you can see, there is a MySQL 8 command line Unicode app here. So I will open this. This is also installed during the installation of MySQL Workbench. And then I will enter the password that I have given during the installation. So this will open up the command line. In here I will use the create database command to create a database. So create database, and then I will right click to paste the name. So I have copied the paste here, and right click on the terminal, that will paste the name, and then give a semicolon. Then I will press enter. Don't forget to give the semicolon, otherwise the command will not execute. It will just go on asking you to enter the semicolon. So I have entered the semicolon and the command. So query okay, one row affected. So SQL has run successfully. So I will close this Unicode now, and I will open up the Workbench and I will reload it, and as you can see, the first project table is now database is now created. But let's see, now I have linked the table, linked the database. I have created the database and I have created the migration and everything. I have created the migration and everything. Remember that, and then we'll come here and I will rerun it. Let's see what happens now. Now the error has changed to base table not found. Other than the access denied, now it is showing base table or view not found. The first project test. That is because even though I have created the database and I have done the migration here and model here and everything here, but the thing is I have still not run the migration. That means this table, that is the test table, doesn't exist in my database. So how will I run the migration? So in order to do that, go to the terminal again and then type php send make, okay, no, not make, migrate. This command will run the migration. But the thing is, this command will obviously run the migration, but it is better to use the migrate than fresh command. So what does this command do is, if a table exists, this will drop all the tables. That means if say there are 2 or 3 tables here with the data, and I want to run the migration fresh form so that I can test it properly, then this command will delete all the tables, then recreate the tables without any data. That is, recreate the table with an initial state, no data. But be careful, because this will delete all the data and it will be unrecoverable. Basically, if you have a data that you don't want to lose, do not run this command, instead just run migrate. And we will see certain commands in future that can be used to bypass all these, but for beginners, this let's see this. So be careful with the migrate fresh, because all the data will be lost. So I have created the migration. Now let's migrate now. As you can see, the first thing it does is drop all the tables, then prepare the database, create migration. What happens? Say if I reload the page, now the table is created with the test table. Now what happens if I do this again? Again the table will be dropped, then it will be recreated, so all the data will be lost. So now the table is now created and linked, so everything has done. So let's refresh the request now, and all the error is now gone. Now let's go to the database and then refresh the table. See, the data is inserted. Test and test. Let's go back, reload the page, new test, and 1 2 3 4 5 6. And if I press create, again no error, the data is inserted. Reload it, new test, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So the data is being inserted here, but the thing is, after insertion, this is still on this route, that is the submit route. Submit route after creation is not doing anything, no? But this is not the actual way to go, because after submit route, after the data is being created, we say in this present situation I need to go to the initial page, that is the test.play.php, or let's create another view for view test update. Okay, so I have created a new view, that is the test update.play.php. Now let's say after, okay, let me uncomment this. Okay, now let's see, I want to go to that view. Now how will I do that? The same thing, after everything is done, I will copy this and say test update. Now what will happen is, after the data is created, I will be redirected to this view, that is the test update. Let's see that in action. Okay, let's see from scratch. Test 1 and 789.46. See, now this is being redirected to another page. Okay, let's see whether it is inserted. Yep, it is inserted. Now this is one condition, but sometimes we want this to go back to the initial page from where we have submitted. Say after the submit event, I need to go back to the initial page, that is the test.blade.php. In that case, how will I do that? So you must usually put this in. I just have to copy this and it will be done. But no, so that we can write redirect and then back. This command will redirect us to the initial page after submission. Let's see, say qw and then 456 123. Then if I create, see, after that I'm redirect back to my initial page, that is this page. So the return redirect command returns me to the initial route from where the request has been submitted. Or I can do a return view command to pass it to another page. So let's do that for now. Let's say this update file, I want to view the data which has been submitted. So how will I view that? Let's see. In order to do that, so the request is now passed to the test and it's created, but I want to view the data. So how will I view that? First of all, I have to fetch the data from the database. So $data is equal to, or $user, since I am using the user information, $users, and then again I will write the test. Then I will use the get method to get all the data. So what does this do is, so the get method fetches all the data in that model which we have given. The model we have given is test. So the get method will fetch, or this is not the route get, this is the Eloquent get. So this method will fetch all the data from the users table, that is the test table here, and will put this to the users variable. Now how will I pass this? To pass this, I'll be using the compact keyword, and then I will pass this as a string. So now the user variable is being passed using the compact keyword. And how will I view it? So this is being passed to the test update. So how will I view this? So to do that, I'll be using the blade syntax. Before that, so the blade syntax is usually like this. This is a blade syntax, and if I paste the variable users here, this will display all the users. Let's say and then password something, and if I press, but this is being shown as an array. So as you can see, all the data I have submitted has been fetched here, but I don't want to view a data like this. So how will I do that? In the test controller, the get method is fetching the data. So what the get method does is, get method is fetching all the data from rows. Since it is fetching all the rows, it is being saved to the array, or appended to the array, appended to the variable as an array. So basically this is an array, since I am using the get keyword. If I use the first keyword, it will get the first data, that is the individual data. In such case, I will be viewing only the first data. So I will reload this. See, now I'm only viewing only one row, so it is fetching this row, test row, test 1 2 3. This is the only data it is being fetched. So so I can use the first Eloquent function to get the first record, or the get method to get all the record. So what will happen if I use the get method to get all the record? So then, since this is being fetched as an array, we have to give this into a loop. So let's see how we will do that. So in Blade, as you already know, the PHP has a for loop function, but in Blade there is also a for and a for else function. So we'll be generally using the for else function, because in for else function, if the function or if the loop doesn't have any value, it will automatically handle the empty value section in the else statement. So at for okay, one more thing, in Blade syntax you will be using the at keyword. So in PHP you will be using this tag, PHP, and then between here you will be writing all the code. But since we are working with a Blade engine, we don't have to write the PHP tag, or if you want to write the PHP tag, you can go with at PHP and then at end PHP. This is the same as the default PHP, or you can just use the at for, or at for each, at for else. That's the one we are going with. For else something at empty, then at end for else. This is the Blade syntax for else. If it is for each, it will be at for each, sorry, EACH, and at end for each. So this will be the Blade syntax for each. Or you want to write some PHP code, then you can write between the at PHP and at end PHP. So this is the Blade syntax for Blade syntax which we will be using. So we will be using the for else, that it will handle the empty section. So what are we going to do? We are passing the users through the get through the compact, and then it's been passed to the for else. So here I'll be writing is users as our user. So since it's a loop, I'll be doing the user and saying Blade syntax double curly brackets and then dollar user for individual item, and I can write the HTML code for breaking the line, so that every time it executes, it's shown in a new line. Let's load it. See, now everything is shown in a new line. But let's see, we just want the username to be shown. So username, so I have copied from the database, but still I will go from here. I want only the username. Since all data is being fetched, I can just use the dot operator to show the username. But the problem in here is that I have now copied the username from here, but this data is being fetched from the database, so I can't use the form name. I have to use the column name here. So the column name is user name. That's why I separated the column. Now let's see what happens here. See, I'm just using the name. So if I want to write view only the password, then PSWD, I think this is the column name, just confirm it, PSWD. So if I view this, see, I'm just using the password here. So it's a as password. So username. So this will be showing username. So this username has this password. Let's see. And okay, it's again working. Test has password, test 1 2 3. So this is how the Blade syntax work, and sometimes it might be a little confusing, but we will do that when we are doing more projects and more trials and tryouts. We will be getting better. So it is always suggested to try. And now we have seen how to pass the data to a view using the compact method. So if I'm say one more thing is that if I'm using the first keyword, then the problem is here, since I'm not passing all the data, if I do this now, since I just changed the data to first, what will happen? An error will happen. Why? Because I'm passing a single entry here to a for each loop, which will fail. But instead, if I just remove the for else and type the users, the variable which we are passing here, then it will just return the first record, that is test has password test123. Test has password test123. So I hope you have understood between the first and all. So now let's see. Now we have created the data. Now let's see how we can update the data. In order to do that, again I will create a route first. So this I'll be saying update, and here I'll be using the patch. If you remember, for update we'll be using the patch, and the function is again update, and I will create a function called, okay, just copy this, copy this and paste and save, and copy and request save as update. Now let's see, I'll be using this itself to update, so I'll be copying the form here and pasting it here. Now in this example, I will be just updating the first row, or okay, we can use the for else to do that. Okay, so for else here. Okay, so in for else I have given a for. Let's see and reload it. Oh no. Okay, so now I'll do one more thing. Stop this first. Okay, so the thing is, I'll be Now why I have changed the code is because every time I'm running this data create command, then every time the user is being created again and again and again. And see, I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new route just to access the update file. So test file slash, instead of update, since I'm editing the file, I'll be out called edit, and here edit. I will create this, and I will change this to edit. So what is happening here? I have created a new route called get test file edit. So this edit will be redirecting me to the test file update. Now why have I done that? Because whenever I was running this to access the file, it was creating a new user every time, and that's not a good method. So now let's access the edit. This route now to update, to view the update. So let's see, undefined variable user, because we have not passed the variable user. So again, using the compact, I will be passing this string, and our project is almost done. Let's see, update and delete are the only two things remaining now. So users, basically there will be a navigation button which will click, we can go to the function like this. So now it has created a, since we have many data, it is showing like this. So this is when I'm accessing this route, is going to the test controller edit function. Edit function is returning the edit test update file which we have created inside the for else loop. So here I will change the button to update, and here again it's changed. So previously we have refreshed the create option, then it will have again created new data into the database. To avoid that, will be created a new route to access the update file. So before updating, there is a problem here. See, the input is here, but I don't know what I'm changing now. So if you open up the browser, there is nothing written here. So how will I know what I'm going to change? To do that, we have already passed this to the for. So we will be passing a value to the input using the blade syntax. So value is equal to in single double quotes and in the double blade syntax. We'll be passing this dollar variable value store user, and I'll be passing the USR since your username is the one being shown here. Again, I will just copy this and I will just paste this, and instead of password I'm going to type text, because otherwise it will not be visible. That dot will be the one visible. Yes, you know, the type is password, the text will not be visible, it will be covered or just hidden, and only the dot will be visible. So since I have passed the users to user individually, and each user username and each user password will be assigned as a value to the input. Now there was a right of the page. Now I can see the username and password. So now I want to update anything, I can just update it now, but no, it will not work because action is to go to the create function. But I don't want to go to the create function, I want to update it. So I will go to the update route which I have created here. So I will go to the update route again. See, the method is patch, but yeah, here there's a problem. I have given the method patch and here the method post. There is no patch method for the form function, form tag. Form tag only supports get or post, it doesn't have any patch method. So how will we declare a patch method here? To do that, I have to use the @ key and then type MPPHO method, and in brackets and in single quotes I'll be typing PATCH. So this will declare the method as patch. Don't give get and then patch here, type post here then patch. So now the method I have passed is patch. Well, we can't change the post method to patch, we have to specifically mention it. Again reload it. Now let's happen what this do. For the test, it is going to this file, so this route using the patch method, and then that will access the test controller update. And then here if you see, the requests are being received, but okay, in later videos we will also see the data validation, but for now we will just go with the request method. So the request is received and it is going to create it. That means a new record will be added, but I want to update this. I'll change this. How will I do that? So here we can use the Eloquent command called test full colon of the test scope operator, then where, this is also the Eloquent command, where id is equal to $id, then let's see where id is equal to $i, pointer update, what I want to update in square bracket, and then I will just copy this or cut this and take this and paste. But there is a problem here. There's not this one. And this one too. Here also I will just use the rectangle like that. These are just basic things. But here, if you see, update is receiving the request and it is using a $id variable, but there is no $id variable. So I will just we will just come later. Let's see. Okay, let's see the basic function of this first. So I'm going to use this route, the method batch, to update the data, the route to the controller, and then here it will be updated. No, but the thing is, when I'm going to update this data, how will I tell that I want to only update this data? I haven't mentioned that in the form. The form is just in a general form, so it is not specifically mentioned as of to which data to update. So I want to pass a data or a variable or anything that is unique to each data node. So in this table, what is unique to every data? I know in usual cases, username and password, everything is similar, so everything is unique. So that will be the case, but not in all the cases. There are certain cases in which, say, if you are giving title and everything to a blog post or anything, then the title could be same by different users. No? So in every case, the ID, if you go to the migration, you can see the ID is mentioned here, which is created automatically. The ID is an automatic value which is defined by the Laravel itself, the Laravel schema itself. So this is unique to each row and this will never change. This will never be duplicated because this cannot be duplicated. I will just show you. Go to the settings. This is the primary key. The ID is the primary key of the test table. Therefore, it will never be duplicated. So in this form, I have to mention that the ID belonging to this, I have to pass the ID belonging to each and every form, then update that data. So how will I do that? The blade file, I have to give another slash to the route and then in the blade syntax, I have to pass $user ID. So this will pass the ID to the route. But how will the route receive the ID? I mean, yeah, the route can receive through the web, no? So let's see what will happen if I create submit. It is showing that test update 1. What happens if I press A? So this one test update 5. So the URL is not changed to test update and the ID. Therefore, it is showing the 404 not one because that that URL doesn't exist, isn't it? So how will I modify the route? So in route, just give one slash and in single curly brackets, just type plain ID, the variable which I'm passing. I mean, it can be anything, ID or number, whichever anything, but means this should be the format. The same format should be applied here. So test file update ID. Here also test file update and the ID. The ID is now being passed. Now how will I access this ID? Let's see what happens. The undefined variable ID. Now what is this $ID? This is not the route ID. In the test controller we have applied a $ID, but this $ID is never there. So now the ID which we are passing through the route is being passed to the update. So I'll be just declaring here $ID. So this is the ID which we are passing here again from here. So this ID is now passed to the route and this is now passed to the function. can also save it through the request. Say if you just type $request. So let's go to the DB and say $request. Saving the ID and with a semicolon. What will happen? See, you can also do that, but that is not the suggestion method. Suggestion method is whenever you are passing an update, you have to give the ID here in the function as a variable. Then you pass that variable to the ID part. Now what is happening here? Now the data as ID using the blade syntax, the for else loop, then it's been passed to the route through the same format, which is then received to the controller update function. Variable ID is passed here, and then is using the Eloquent command to update the data of that ID. Now let's see whether this will work or not. Test I will be, so the test I will be say changing to this word password key. So this data is nowhere in the database now. So let's see if I click update, and we'll see the data is now changed. That's why it's showing here, but nothing else is changed here. Let's see here if I reload. So it is being updated. So this command test where ID is equal to this the given ID which we have passed, and then update the username and password to that ID, and then return to the initial page from where the request is now given. So if I say here I want to update to say just Q, and then password to just once. Let's see here, and see, it's changed here, and all the data has been changed. So our update query is also working. Now let's say the delete. So for that, again we'll be using the same. So for delete, we will be using the anchor tag, or we can write a form. Okay, we will write a form. It's the best thing. So I will just copy this form, paste it, and I only need the button. I don't need things, and here I'm typing the DE. Here also delete, and the button also delete. Okay, now in here we'll be giving some gap here, so okay, to know which value I'm going to delete, just put the blade syntax here. So delete this value. So now as I have given the form, I will be giving the route now. So I will copy this and again enter. Here it will be delete. Same format I'm going with, and here just copy this and then will delete, and as to where ID is good, ID delete, and I will just as a function, and I don't need the request because I'm just deleting it. So what's happening here? In the same for else loop, I have created another form submission using the similar method to delete the function. It will be showing delete this user. Now let's reload the delete this word. Delete me first. Okay, there is too much gap here. Just I will just add this thing at the end of the form, so that sure. Delete this word, delete new text, delete new text, again delete test1, delete query. So when I press the delete button, this will delete this word, this will delete new test, isn't it? So, there are two types of delete that we can use. So there is the one method is to directly delete the data, and there is another method called soft delete. And let's see what's soft delete. First, let's see what is directly deleting the data. Directly deleting the data means just removing the data from the database. So when I press the delete button, so we go to this route with the user ID, and the web will be using the this route, that is deleting route. I'm going to the delete function. The function will get the model and get the ID and delete the data. Let's see that in action. So let's say I'm going to delete the delete export. See, the data is gone. Let's see. Here is this word, and if I give the number, is now starting from new test. So that is the direct delete. Now let's see the second delete method, that is soft delete. See, soft deleting. Okay, so this is the method to delete data separately. So let's see. In order to enable soft deletion, we have to add a column to our table. So the benefit of soft deletion is that the data will not actually be removed from the table, but it will be just removed from the view. The data will still be there, but nobody can view it because it will be deleted from the view, but it will not be deleted from the database. Let's see, where is that? Searchable. Second. Okay, it's not here. Okay, this is not soft delete. So yeah, let's see. Yeah. So first of all, what you have to do is you have to go to the model. So in this example, we are going to use the test model, and then ask it to use the soft delete. Then I have to import the soft delete, otherwise it will not work. Then I have to create a table for soft delete. So this one. So here what I have done is I have used the soft delete and imported the soft delete. Okay, I have not imported soft delete. I will do that. 1 second. So just let me add the table. Soft delete. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. And then importing the soft delete button. So yeah. Okay, now I have imported the soft delete. So I have added the soft delete option to the model and also a column called soft delete to the migration. Now since I have made modifications to the schema of the migration, I have to run the migration again. Let's see, I'm going to access this and let's see what happens. See, this is the problem with migrate. Since I have created a new column, but still I can't migrate because there is nothing to migrate. The table, the current schema has already been migrated, and if I go to the database, nothing's changed. But then if I go to the migrate fresh command and then run it again, it will drop all the existing table. It will create the table. So let's see. All the data is gone from here. and table is created. Now let's see what happens here. Now to the browser again, go back and reload. Nothing is there, so I have to create the new test 1, 2, 3 with 6. I create one, then what is the next route? The route is edit. Justify/edit. Press enter. Is there. Now here, if we go to the database, the data is there. Now previously, when I have deleted, data got removed from the database. But what happens if since I have added the soft delete here, what happens if I click the delete button? I click the delete button and the data is gone, isn't it? But inside the database, see, data is still there. You're wondering what's happening here. Now that's because I have to run the table again. Now reload the table again. So there's another field called deleted at here. So if I just remove the date here and then apply and reload the database, see, now the deleted at is null. So if I reload it again, data will be coming. If I click the delete button again, and it's removed from the view, and if I reload the table adds the time. So this is the difference between soft delete and hard delete. So soft delete will not remove the data from the database. The data will still be there. This is the most useful thing with soft delete. Because if you want to record, you just have to delete it. You can give a button somewhere here to restore all the data, and when that button is pressed, you can use to remove the deleted at timestamp. But there is one more thing, just for your knowledge. There is another way with which we can even view the deleted data. Now how is that? So let's see, the edit button is here. Here it is using get. Now here if I type with Laravel crashed. So let's reload it. With crashed, I think it is crashed. Yeah, it is trashed. Yeah, with trashed. Oh, I don't need to use the get method here. So get method here. So if I reload it, it's there. It will get trashed. Let's check. Give ID here. Yeah, okay. Now one more thing. Let me see this. What is happening here? The with trash should have given the value. Get again. Sorry. Yeah, so here it is. I have to give with trashed, then get. So it will fetch all the deleted data too, even if it's deleted. And there are certain conditions if we want to delete the data from the table completely, without, even if soft delete is enabled. So when soft delete is enabled, if you give the delete Eloquent command, then it will add a delete at timestamp only. It will not remove the data. But the thing is, what if we want to remove the data? So in that cases, if you go here, see, there's a force delete option. If this force delete is given, then the data will be removed from the database. Say reloading it and I'm deleting it. data is normal. Let's see. Even though the deleted is there, still the data is good. So there are many other things which we can learn, but this video has just been for the beginners to get an idea of what Laravel is capable of. There are still plenty to go on, but I think it's time to end this video here because it's already been too long. I didn't thought that it would be this long. So I'll be ending this video here, and I'll be coming in with more videos, and I will try to make chunks so that everyone will be able to watch it easily. So see you next time. Thanks for watching. And also, if you have any comments or queries, or if you haven't understood if you have any doubt regarding anything, you can leave a comment, and I will try to make a video regarding your topic. So thank you for watching again, and like and subscribe. Thanks.